This is the President McCormack Podcast with your host, Mark McCormack.
So I was talking to homie, and he was saying that you're going to Greece next week. And so my ex-wife's taking her whole team in, I think it's August.
Oh, cool.
But then my daughter's like, Dad, will you take me to Greece? I'm like, bro, you're 10.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm not taking you to Greece for a week. But I might, actually, as well. Yeah.
Well, dude, if you want to go crazy, we leave on the 20th.
No shit. Well,
we're taking our kids, right?
Yeah, that's what I was saying, because I told him, and then he's like, well, Mark's taking his kids. I'm like, yeah, bro.
So my kids are really into mythology, right? Like Percy Jackson, they love
Zeus.
all of them. Yeah. So we told them, I don't know, we planned this trip like 9 months ago, right? It's our 20 year.
Aphrodite.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Aphrodite. That's my favorite. Hopefully I find her.
It'd be weird if they were into Aphrodite.
So dude, we go to tell them like, yeah, I'm gonna take your mom to Greece, and they're just like, what, without us? And they got like livid, right? Like they were actually mad. I was like, well, Mom will take you guys back sometime. They're like, you're actually gonna go to Greece without us? And it was like the most ridiculous thing they've ever heard. And so I was like, we'll take you guys. Michelle's like, really? And I was like, yeah, you don't care if they come, right? And she's like, no, I'd love for them to come, because, I mean, it is our 20-year anniversary, but like, we actually prefer to have our kids there anyways.
Yeah.
You know what it's like when you go on trips and you like miss your kid. And
bro, that's how life is, right? Like, I think the older I get, I realize it's fun to go do stuff by yourself. It's fun to go with your person and do stuff, but there's always that little piece of you that's like, oh man, it'd be fun if the kids were here for this part.
Yeah. That was me in Iceland. Dude, when I was up in Iceland, I was like, dude, it'd be so cool to bring my kids here. Cause
you had me and Nick.
Yeah. Well, I eventually had Michelle, if you remember.
Leo.
Leo. Oh, Leo. Dude, I was just teasing him about that on the cruise. Oh, yeah. I was like, bro, that story was long. Mostly because you repeated it 19 times.
Because I asked him to repeat it 19 times.
Dude, every time. Your kids were there? And I was just like,
what color was the car
if
again?
he starts this story one more time, I'm going to kill you too. I'm going to kill you.
Started a good friendship.
That was fun, dude. So what do you think about Iceland? What was your favorite part of that?
Iceland? Ooh. I think just meeting everybody and like actually opening up yourself as well. Like you, Nick, me, you, Nick.
Yeah.
Who else was there that I got to know really well? Because I think you meet everybody, right? And you're going to the stuff, and you're going to the WAT events and blah blah blah, whatever. Yeah. But I don't think you really get to know people like you do on a trip, you know?
No, you don't. Absolutely.
If there's three big old dudes in a 5x8 room, all foot to feet, you know, sleep in the same beds, like,
dude, that was cracking.
You kind of get to know people that way, like,
because it was me, you, and Nick, right? What was it like? What, were we in a queen or a full? It was not a big bed.
I was in a single. I think it was actually
it was like
baby
a cot.
crib.
Yeah,
I was in a baby crib.
Was it really?
I don't know. It felt like a baby crib.
Well, it was cracking me up
because feet were hanging off the end.
Because Nick's like, "Do you snore?" And I was like, "Well, I don't snore because I got a CPAP machine, right?" So I'm unpacking this goddamn CPAP machine because I was fat back then.
I remember that.
Remember that? I would turn that thing on, and I'm just
Darth
like,
Vader, bro.
Oh. Well, then I got Nick snoring his ass off right in my face, and I'm
He's
like,
I don't snore.
Yeah, I don't snore at all. I'm just like,
and then you got me over there hitting the snore when his isn't snoring.
That's right. I was trying to remember. Yours wasn't as bad, but like,
dude,
you know, when you started getting in symphony to that. But the thing was crazy with us. That trip was wild because first night we went to bed at like what, 3, right? Because we went to the club.
Went to bed at 3.
Yeah, got up at
But the worst part was our place was above all the clubs.
Yeah.
So we went home at 3. We didn't really go to bed till probably 4 or 5, and it's still light outside. Mm-hmm. And it gets light at like, what time to get light? 8, 7.
I can't remember. Yeah, something like that.
And then stayed light till
6 or something. No, I can't remember.
No, it was long.
Oh, was it later?
Because it would stay at the crest.
Oh, that's right.
So far north.
That's right. Yeah, Jimmy goes when they go there in the summer, like the sun doesn't go down, right? So he's like it was awesome because like we're on the different time zones, right? So he's like we would just go till
stuff.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons it was really easy to stay up till 2 or 3 because it's like 10 o'clock for us back home or whatever.
Yeah,
so
it felt a little different.
And Jimmy was packing those days in with shit, so we were like, Remember the next day we got up at like 5:45 to go to that snorkeling thing. Oh, dude,
that was freezing cold. So that was my favorite part of Iceland. It wasn't so much the adventure stuff. Like that's really cool, and you're just doing so much of it, you know.
Yeah.
That it kind of it's just another thing. But I also got to know like Bracken, Alec, and it was all just on accident, right? Like getting in a car with those guys.
Yeah.
And I think you have a perceived notion of somebody, this idea that you create in your own mind of.
Yeah.
And I'll use Bracken for an example. I thought like he's this really religious dude that's like he's gonna be mad if I swear or like I'm gonna offend this guy on this 3-hour drive we have together.
Yeah.
And it was completely opposite.
Yeah.
Like not even in the same realm of what my brain had created.
Yeah.
And so I spent hours, 4 as we drove around, 3-4 hours with him and Alec, and really diving into serious questions about his life. And I look back, I think that was the foundation for us, for them, them, myself with some of these people. That created like amazing friendships, you know. And it was all on accident, really. I mean, wasn't, but it was, right?
Yeah, no, it's almost like what you make of it kind of thing, right? Like you could go,
absolutely.
Yeah, you can go to these trips and kind of like be on your own. Like the kind of thing with Spain, right? There's a couple
sit
dudes
there and not ask questions or not like get to know somebody that you don't normally wouldn't, you know, because you create this thing in your brain like, oh, I'm not really going to talk to him because he's, you know, better than me, or maybe that's not the right word. I'm scared to talk to him. Or really open up, and if you don't, you miss out, right?
You never know,
Like some of the guys in the group or other groups that were there, they don't really, they kind of fade away, right? Like
100%.
And we kind of know them, like we know them from social media or being at the event, but you don't really get to know them.
Yeah.
Like,
what's the thing? Like there's a cheat code out there in the world, right? There are a lot, and it's hard for people to get to this, right? But like, you just need to be 100% authentically you.
Yeah.
Like Dan Blankenship's a good example of this, right? And everyone loves Dan, right? But I've seen Dan like kind of lose his shit a few times, right?
Yep.
And I actually appreciate that side of him because the more real you are, like it's easy to be fun and engaging and get people to like you, right? But then when they see you maybe in a little bit of bad behavior or just a little bit out of your element or you're going through something, right? Like it just brings that authentic, you know, makes you authentic to people. It's just, and really people love the shit side of you too, right? Sure. Especially if they like all of it. It's like, hey man, what the hell? Like one of my favorite things, right, with like Nick and like Matt Beret, right, is I'll tease the shit out of them for the stuff they do that's dumb, right?
Yep.
Like Matt one time was telling me that he like was like lighting his grandma up at Home Depot, right? I'm just like, you got time to yell at a lady at Home Depot? And he's like, well, you know what I mean? And they call me out on my dumb crap too, right? Trust me, I could bring them on here and they'd be like, oh yeah, Mark, you do this, you know? Yeah. Like Andrew Bray always calls me out for being a bleeding heart for every single mom out there. So if there's a single mom, you're there to help her. And I'm like,
I mean, why not, bro? Why not? If you can do it, why not?
I feel bad for them. They're like, they put themselves in this situation.
That used to be my dating Emma.
Dude. It's probably not a bad plan. I haven't dated in a while.
Saving all those single moms out there.
All the single ladies. Oh, dude. I really, it's so funny, dude, because it's just people need to just to be real. Right? Like just be real all the time and just like, yeah, you got shit that's going on in your life, you know? Yeah. Like I find it's funny, like in our group, I'm sure you get the same thing. Like people talk to you, like they think everything's dope. And it's like, no, there's some real shit stuff I go through all the time. Oh. And people are like, oh, really? And it's like, yeah, I'm just like you. What do you think? I'm special? You're not special.
You think I just wake up and I'm just happy and driving to the best places and eating the best food and everything's good. I mean, no, dude, no.
One of the things too is like I try to explain to people. I think I did this in one of our Ludises, right? But like, oh yeah, it was Heber because people are like, "What's hard?" And I'm like, "Well, I feel alone a lot." And you know, and people like perk up like, "Alone? Let me hug you." You know, it's like, no, not hug. I mean, mentally alone, right? When you're running companies or you're investing in things, like you're alone a lot, right? Because at the end of the day, it's you. You know, and a lot of my companies, if I hit the general population for advice, right? they'll give me some of it, right? But then I go, well, you really think that? And they go, well, it's your money. I mean, and they just boom right into that instead of like being very convicted in like what's going on. And so, but you can't trust people who give you weak advice. No. You know what I mean? So, it's like.
They don't trust themselves, right?
Yeah. And then they get nervous.
So they bet on themselves and like take control of that. Like
Yeah. That's actually why I like the venture capital fund, right? That I'm a part of, right? Because all of us are pretty equal in there, right? It's not, and there's no real ego either. It's just like, no, I think this is a terrible idea. Like the other day we were on this call and we've invested in a business, and I'll tell you off camera about it. Okay. And they need more money, basically, is what's coming down. And I was against investing it at the beginning, right? Mm-hmm. And so as we're talking about it, I'm like, guys, we are taking good money and chasing bad. Kill it. Like we need to kill it now and just pivot. And then everyone's just like, yeah, we do, But it's not, but if you go in that room as a yes man, right? It's like, well, hey, we've invested in this company, we're pot committed, if we infuse it, it's going to go to here and like all this kind of stuff. And everyone's like, yes, that sounds good, Instead of like actual feedback where it's like, no, I think this is really bad. But in that meeting too, if the rest of the partners would have said, but no, we're going to chase this money, I would support them.
Correct.
Right. But I've also been very honest with how I feel about it. But then it's like, okay, if we're going to do this, then let's do it. And we're all moving as an actual team. I love that. So
that's awesome.
Do you have that same experience with Icon?
With Ion?
Or Ion, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's pretty similar. The whole work thing's interesting, and we'll talk about it after.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we want to talk about.
Yeah, cool.
So there's some big things happening with that. Yeah. But I do feel like, and I was talking to somebody about this last night. I don't really want to be right. I just want to do what's right. Yeah. And so a lot of times, if you approach situations, whether it's investing or because we all know I'm right, I think that's the right move.
Yeah.
But what's right is sometimes not
the same.
You're right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And so, I mean, you can approach that with life. You can approach that with relationships. With my daughter, I do it all the time. Right. Like, I have to step back sometimes and be, hey, maybe that's not what's right. Maybe I'm just trying to be right.
Yeah.
And I think that's served me in life, to be honest. Like, because you have situations and a lot of people try to force stuff.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't turn out typically how they thought it was going to be.
Yeah. No, I've never heard that before, and I totally agree. Because there are people that just want to be right. All the time, yeah. And it's like, or and a lot of that too is like they want to be heard, or they got some weird underlying thing, which is annoying as hell. Because when you're trying to decide what to do, you just want to make the decision that is right.
Yeah.
These people pat themselves in the back.
Yeah. And you and I, and there's high performing people that it's kind of a catch-22 because you also have to make a decision.
Yeah.
And you have to be the driver, and you have to be the driving force. And so you also have to have, like you were saying, that conviction of, well, no, that's right. And I'm going to go that way.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you take that road, it's hard to back out that road or take a left or take a right because you don't want to feel like, shit, dude, I made the wrong decision.
Yeah.
And we're already cruising down the street. So,
so I was given I was doing that. You came and saw me getting filmed the other day, right?
Yeah.
John was asking me all this advice, right? And we were talking about business in general and all this kind of stuff. And I have this real thing where I say to people, and I'm right. And people, they're not digesting this, I don't think yet, but you don't actually want to be an entrepreneur. Right. It actually sucks being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But when everyone talks about being an entrepreneur, they go like, I want to make my own hours and be able to control my destiny and all this kind of stuff. It's like, that's the investor side of it.
Yeah. Right? Yeah.
Like,
that ain't the entrepreneur side.
Yeah, it ain't entrepreneur. That is I am blind
No.
passion with what I'm doing. I'm going to do it no matter what. Even if people tell me it's the wrong thing to do, I will get up for 16 hours every day for years and do it. Like that is what an entrepreneur actually is.
Yeah.
And you might have to go through that in your life, to get to where you want to go. But where the real freedom comes in is the investor side, right? Yeah. But it's actually very cerebral. You've got to like allocate your capital properly, and people get really nervous about that, and I get it, right? You're never taught how to do it,
no,
right? I didn't take one college course or high school.
It's not taught in college.
No.
At least not for me.
No, it's not.
My parents didn't teach me that.
Me either.
They were surviving.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of people too, like I do that call every month, right, for investing. And we talk a lot about stocks. We're talking a little bit more about cryptocurrency now because people love that, which is fine, you know. But like I talk about stocks and people are like, well, when do I take profit? I'm like, never. Right? You buy a good company and hold it forever.
You just hold it. Yeah.
Yeah. And my point with that is I'm like, hey, go back 35 years and pick a relevant company that's still alive today. And would you have bought that stock 35 years ago? And they go, oh, absolutely. Right. It's like buying Apple for $8 a share. Right. It's split 9 times since then. You know what I mean? Like you'd be worth millions. Right. And it's like, okay, now at what point should you have sold it? Well, never. It's worth the most it's ever been worth now. Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
Keep going.
Like that's the principle. You're not taking profits. You're growing your assets. You're growing your net worth. Right. Now you absolutely do sell stocks. Right. If you own Blockbuster for 15 years, it did really well till the end.
Get out.
Right? Get the hell out of there. Sears, JC Penney.
Get out, bro.
Yeah. If you're still in Blockbuster, it's too late. I'm sorry.
Sorry, guys.
You hold those
Not
shares.
gonna GameStop, I promise.
Yeah. Oh, GameStop, bro. Give me freaking. They're still pumping that thing.
Right now, it
blows my mind.
went back up.
What a terrible.
That dude's gonna be a billionaire.
Is he shorting it? I've heard about him.
Yeah. What's his name?
Yeah.
They made the movie about him. He might be.
Oh, Michael Burry?
What's the guy's name? I don't know.
From The Big Short?
No. The other guy.
The current guy, right? His name's like Weird Wolf or something like that, right?
He did the podcast. That's how made it really big.
Yeah.
Or the live stream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I just recently watched a
heard
TikTok about
he's
him.
about to be a billionaire from GameStop.
He is. And
Bro.
I don't know if he's on the shorting side or if he's on the. He's got to be on the. He has to be on the shorting side. Yeah, he just owns it.
He didn't
right?
sell it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
stupid.
bro, that's
But
what a weird.
those are the kind of
time.
stories that drive me nuts, right? Because then you have guys that sit down who are like 30 and they're just like, well, how do I shortcut this? I'm like, you can't.
Bro,
you cannot
You're
shortcut
asking the wrong
this.
question with that.
Yeah, make more money.
There's no shortcut in anything.
Yeah.
If you're asking shortcuts, it's.
But that's the whole self-development world, though, right?
Back. Yeah.
Buy my book. Here's a shortcut. Buy my book. There's a cheat code. Buy my book. Buy my book. Buy my book. And it's like, then you read these things, and it's like, it doesn't tell me a damn thing.
No.
It's like, no, it just motivates you.
They're all saying the same stuff. Yeah. You still got to put in the work.
Yeah. I've been telling there's a couple of guys I've sent your way, right, that I'm mentoring, right, and I'm just like, I tell them, I'm like, open a brokerage account. It's like it's literally my litmus test to see if I'm going to mentor you or not. Because if you don't open that thing up in 5 days,
you're not serious.
You're lazy and you're not serious, and you also don't have. My big thing right now is courage. I don't know why. It's like coward versus courage.
Yeah.
It's like if you don't have the courage just to open an account, it's free. Right?
If you won't take the effort to open a free thing, like do a free thing, like that literally only costs you your effort.
Right. And that effort is 10 minutes. Right. If you have a Chase bank account, you literally go into investments, you go down to open a brokerage account, fill the form out, which is pre-filled for you because they already have your information.
All the
like you're literally
address,
clicking
name, phone number.
Yeah. Other than like, do I have a trust, which most of you guys don't. So hit no. Right. A couple of things down this list and then hit submit and and then it goes into a process. So 24 hours later, you have a brokerage account. Put $500 into it, go buy some stock. Boom. You now own stock.
Now you're an investor.
It's simple. Yeah, now you're an investor. Yay.
Good job.
And then the discipline to put money in there every single month till you're dead.
Yep.
I mean, that's just what it is. And, I tell a lot of people too, and I actually feel bad with this, right? Because I won't lie, right? So I'm like, your biggest friend is time.
Yeah.
Right. So you start investing in your teens or your early 20s, you will outpace almost everybody. It doesn't matter how much money they make, right? But you start in your 50s, it's a different game. Right. It's a much different game. And so like I had someone come
find that shortcut.
Yeah. Find that shortcut. And that's where people they take massive risk, right? Like they'll be like,
because they have to, right?
Well, they think they have to.
Yeah.
The problem is the massive risk side of it, right? It's just
not worth it.
Doesn't work.
Yeah.
5% of them might work.
I have a saying, and I don't know where I heard this, but slow drip fills buckets. And I think that's another principle. If you take, like in my career in door to door, it's very rarely, I'd almost say never, everybody that walks in the door, the good looking, talks well, I'm going to kill this. that guy never does it. Zero.
Really?
I could, if somebody walked in here right now, we're doing interviews and they look like an Abercrombie model,
yeah.
is that still a thing?
To me it is.
Model.
It'll always be a
for
thing.
us it's still a thing. For some of these young people watching this, they're like, what is that? Yeah. But if they came in and they spoke really well and they're just fired up, I'm going to be number one. Like, that guy never does it.
Yeah.
Like, never. Like, I could.
That's interesting.
I would put money on it that guy never actually gets it done.
Yeah.
Who it is the guy that has, I believe, 2 to 3 things. And I'm going to add courage because you said courage.
Yeah.
But because I think that's really true. Grit and courage is pretty similar. But work ethic that you a lot of times can't really teach. And maybe you can teach it, but it takes some years. That kid that came off the team or a farm, or those are the questions I ask them is, tell me about your background as a kid. Did you play sports? Did you have a job? Like those things. So work ethic. And then the second one is a positive attitude. And I think that's important because you face so much adversity and rejection, and how that's the one that looks good. He's never faced that stuff.
Yeah.
He hasn't. He goes and shows up. The girls talk to him. The people let him in line. Like, that dude's not fighting for life. He's being handed things,
Yeah.
But that kid that's an underdog that had to work hard, that's the ones that get it done. And it's never quick. It's the slow drip that fills the bucket.
Yeah.
And pretty soon you got lots of buckets filled over.
No, you're right.
Multiple years. So.
Yeah. It's funny. Jonah asked me when I was getting filmed the other day, right on these little short clips. He goes, "What's your best advice on making the most amount of money now?" And I'm like, selling solar. And it's so funny because,
bro, it's like the gold rush, man. Like,
I'm telling you. Well, the thing is, right, and you know this better than anyone because that's obviously your industry, right? But the sales agents make the most money, right?
You absolutely.
Yeah, and I can explain this. It's the companies. So what people don't understand, the companies themselves are generally in single-digit profitability, right?
Yep.
And you don't have to divulge this, right? But I would assume the sales agents are about 35% of the cost.
For sure.
Yeah. And so,
if not more, in some cases.
Yeah. So let's just say you got 8%.
Commissions are really good. Yeah.
Yeah. 8% fall into the company as profit, right? Then 35% of the cost is basically profit goes to the sales agents, right? Like that's a massive imbalance. Generally, your workers are they're closer to 9 to 15% of your costs, right? But in that industry, it's higher. Yeah. And we can go to that another time, but what that means is for people, go sell it, right? It is not, and you can speak to this better, but I don't want to say it's hard, but you can get to $200,000 to $500,000 a year selling solar, right? Yeah. It's very obtainable to do that. I'm not saying it's easy or it's hard or whatever it is, because it's very individual, right? But
it's actually really simple.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah. It's not easy, but it's simple.
Yeah.
And I think that's the complexity with it is, like you're saying, like Jonah asked, what's the quickest way or fast way to make money right now? It's simple if you just go out and do the work.
Yeah.
I would arguably say that you could go make $500,000, 200 to $500,000 in your first year.
Yeah.
Like if you had work ethic, if you had a positive attitude, and you just followed a simple plan of, it was like the gym, right? It's not that difficult.
Yeah.
It's really, really not. It's just consistency. It's eating decent. You could have consistency in the gym, eat okay, and you're going to look pretty freaking amazing pretty quick, 4 to 5 months. Most people, they start it, or they start the door-to-door thing, or they start the sales thing, or they start the podcast thing.
Yeah.
What's that? There's analytics on podcasts, right? 90% of podcasts only have 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Do you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Jesse
Eitzler said it, It's really, really small. And that's because it is really simple, but most people stop after just starting it. And so that's with anything I believe in life is most people start stuff and they never finish it.
Yeah.
They just start it and it gets hard. And, you know, when I was younger, I used to hear that, right? Like, and you probably did too, you know, in our 20s, it's like, you know, people start it and they just don't continue. And I just never really got it till I got older.
Yeah.
But now I see it, you know, it's very, very obvious, especially with younger people or even people our age. Like,
I'm sure.
Like,
I'll tell you,
how long did you start that? I did it for a week, a month, 6 months. Like, bro, I worked for 10 years driving a Prius. 10 years,
that is
bro. Like 10 years driving a Prius to the doors. But people don't see that, right? They don't see the Prius life.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't see me cooking my own meals or like all that. They see the Raptor.
Yeah.
They see the nice cars, the house. Like, bro, not long ago, I was driving a Prius.
Yeah.
Like,
dude, I love that. Dude, I drove
scrapping.
I drove a Scion XA.
Yeah.
For years.
No,
dude.
that's terrible. No.
Well, I would argue it's better than a Prius, but I'm straight, you know, so I had to drive a freaking
with your painted nails. Okay.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Yeah. We always tip the gay line, right?
Yeah.
Just like, are they?
We're tricking them.
I was joking around the other day because I actually really do love gay guys. I think they're funny as hell to hang out with, right? And, you know, stuff. And I was telling someone, I can't remember because I'm a moron. I just talk all the time, right? And I was like, it would be the funnest thing to me if someone came up to me and said, Mark, I'm not sure if you're gay or not. Knowing I have a family, right? I was like, yeah.
I mean,
I made it, you know?
Can name some people.
Yeah.
We won't, but we.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But it's part of life, right? I don't know. I love the fun of it. Like I don't know, everything. But you're right though. I mean, you look back in time and like, you know, I'm mentoring a couple people, right? And Michelle's like, she goes, it's funny that people like want to come shadow me, like at work, right?
Yeah.
And I'm always like, well, what do you want to hear from me? Because there's so many things I could do in a day, or you could like look at, right? And actually, Jeremiah Cano and I were joking about this one day. He was either at our house or we were over their house just chilling. I'm like, yeah, I got a guy coming in a couple of days, and he's just gonna shadow me, and he's coming from out of town.
Damn.
And he's like, what are you gonna do? I'm like, I don't know, dude. You know what I do? I sit there and write emails and freaking do long-term strategy stuff. Like, it's not applicable to most people actually.
Yeah.
And I go, you know what? And he goes, you know what you should do? He goes, dude, you should get high off your ass on weed with them. And I was like, dude, I'm not thinking about this right. I should do a legacy play. Like, I'll just get them, I'll show up in a limo, pick them up from somewhere, right? Get high up our ass, go shoot guns, go to the most fancy restaurant,
shit up.
right? And then just send him on his way and don't even say anything about it. And people are like, yeah, I shadowed him, but all we did was smoke weed and shoot guns.
Blow stuff up, dude.
Yeah.
I got back on the plane.
See, that's like a legend, dude.
Yeah,
like that legend out there. But but so when he actually came in though, I just sat him down. I go, hey, dude, there's a bazillion things I could talk to you about. What do you want?
Yeah.
You know, what do you actually want to learn from me? And we'll just go over it. And then he told me. And
What's the quickest way to make money right now?
No. It was a lot about like building a business, and he's got a I don't know how big of a business it is, but it's not that big because it's just him, right? But like, yeah, and he wants to know how to scale and like kind of how I did it. So I kind of went through my life and just said, like, these are the points that I did really good things, and this was a good choice. This wasn't, you know, I've lost money here and I made a lot of money here, and you know, if you can get some of those principles and apply them, good for you, you know, kind of thing. But you know, it's funny, right? Because I don't feel like I'm this wealth of knowledge, but I actually am, you know, depending on what you want to talk to me about. Yeah. But it's like, but you know, it's like, so are you, right? It's if I come to talk to you about things, it's like very easy to talk about. And when there's a lot of commonality and like I can learn things, but.
Yeah. Well, and I think that has to do with our personalities. I think we very rarely say no to stuff. Mm-hmm. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but even earlier in your 20s, 30s, like you probably did a lot of things where you took risks, and not just like financially or work wise, but in life. Yeah, dude, I would go run that trail. I would go, you know, take that trip, or just said yes to a lot of things. And so you have all this experience. Like I mean, you probably the same way, but I feel like I've lived 10 lives.
Yeah.
Like, so many things, and I have so many stories and experiences and literally I was just saying yes, like it, you know, a lot of people don't even know this, and I'll say it on camera, but I used to play sports in Asia.
Oh, I did not know that.
So I used to travel to Asia 6 times a year and play slow pitch softball.
Really?
All over.
Are you amazing at softball?
What's up?
Are you amazing at softball?
I'm all right.
Well, come on.
There's probably people watching. Yeah.
Who's better than you at softball?
Yeah, not many.
Not many. Okay, cool.
But it all started because I had a passport, and a buddy of mine approached me years and years ago. This was probably, I don't even remember what year this was, but they approached me at I played in this massive tournament, and he said, "Hey, we need a guy to fill this position. This kind of guy we're looking for." My friend luckily came in. He's like, "Oh, I got the perfect guy," and he has a passport.
Yeah. And
so he came and asked me, and some people, I don't know, I'm just not this way, but I think there's a lot of people who would just say, that just sounds, no, I can't do that. Like,
yeah, it's difficult, or it's
just
uncomfortable, or they're worried, or.
I've never been that way. I've always been the one that looked at like the positive part of that, and maybe this is a bad, I don't know, but it's a good thing.
No, it's a good thing.
I never looked at the bad side. What could happen if it didn't work out? What could happen if it was crappy, or I did have a bad experience? Like, my brain's always, and maybe it's from being as a kid, it got wired to look at, wow, what if that, and maybe that's because I grew up poor, not having a lot of stuff. Yeah. And so in my brain, I always thought, like, what if I won the lottery? What if, my parents were rich? What if, and I was always dreaming of these things, And so I remember saying yes. And 2 months later, I'm on a flight, everything paid for, food, everything, literally a hotel. I did this for 10 years.
Oh, really?
10 years. Flying to Philippines, Thailand, Korea, Japan, China, Indonesia.
So do people pay to come watch you guys?
No. But the teams over there, a lot of them are expats, so like Americans that own companies or whatever. And so they had all this pride in sports, really. And they just it was just a big thing over there. And so
they just wanted to win, so they just brought you over.
They wanted to win, bro. So they brought ringers from the U.S., That's like, and then I became friends with them, after a year or two, I became friends. And so they would pay my stuff, but after like 5 years, dude, I'm like, it'd be like me and you'd be like, "Oh no, I'll buy you dinner, dude." And I'm like, "No, let me buy you dinner." Like, no, you don't need to buy my, Yeah. And so then I just would tell them, like, "Hey, you don't got to buy my trips anymore. Like, you guys have been bringing me here for like ever." And so, I'd play in all those countries and then travel those countries. And it's
dude, that's an awesome opportunity.
It's just because I said yes.
Yeah.
Like, I literally said yes to a friend.
That's my thing, right? Just to say yes to everything.
No,
you ever heard me say that?
I didn't, but I know that about you because you always say yes. We both do, right? Like, if our schedule permits,
exactly.
I will absolutely always do the thing because I've had so many people in my life that didn't do the thing, and then they regret not doing the thing.
Dude, my number one fear, right? And I don't know if I saw this in a movie or like what, right? Probably saw it a million different ways, right? Yeah. But it's the 80-year-old guy in a hospital bed, hooked up to all the stuff, and the family's saying, what would you have done different, right? And he just goes, "I would have done it, right? Or I would have said yes, or and like, I don't know if I made that story up in my head or like what, but I'm just like, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I will not be 80, 90, dying and being like, shit, I wish I would have just done this, or I would have done this with my kids, or I would have gone with my friends at one time. And which leads to a massively packed schedule. Yeah. Right. Like I don't watch TV because I don't have time.
Bro, never. I don't play video games. Haven't for 20 years.
Yeah.
But don't watch TV. I mean, I'll have TV on in the background. I'll watch YouTube.
Yeah, that's me. Yeah.
Because it's in my mind, it's informational. It's like teaching me something. It's probably rot in my brain, but whatever. But dude, I have 2 fears. I literally, if you ask me, I had 2 fears in life ever. One, my first one was my daughter, that I didn't get to see her grow up, or that she didn't grow up. I didn't give her the tools to be successful in life. And my other one was that I'd be 80 years old, wondering what if.
Yeah.
Like, die with memories, not with dreams.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's what I've always thought in the back of my mind is, dude, don't be that guy.
Yeah.
Don't be that guy that's like, you know, and maybe it came from the doors, honestly, knocking doors, is I would meet those people living in this shitty little house. Not that living in a shitty little house is shitty, but you could see their circumstance was not what it used to be. And they were the guy that was like telling you, you know, they'd be in their 60s, 70s. Man, I made so much money when I was in my 20s and I used to fly this and do that. And in my head, I would think like, what happened? Like, what,
Yeah.
like, why are you living in this little tiny town in Pennsylvania? And like, what happened, you know?
Yeah.
And so that was like a big fear of mine for a long time. Like, don't be that guy. Don't be that guy that's like 80, like you were saying. I think that's what came for me is, don't be on your deathbed wondering, what if?
Yeah.
Like, what if I would have said yes to that?
Yeah.
What if I would have taken that trip? Because I firmly believe you're one decision, two decisions away, from creating any life that you want.
Mm-hmm.
Like truly. And I think people don't realize how close they are to that for the most part. And I'll give you an example. I had a buddy of mine. When I met him, he was homeless. Maybe I'll mention his name. I don't know. He's in group 4 actually. So maybe I'll mention him. But when I met him, he was homeless. He was showering at the gym in Las Vegas. He was sleeping on people's couches, just bouncing around, no car.
Yeah.
And I started bringing them in. I had this, you're similar, you know, you bring in these people into your life because you almost feel a sense of, I don't know where it comes from, this responsibility to like help, you know? And I think we have to kind of sometimes be careful of who those people are because not everybody wants help, you know? And so you have to be careful with that. But he was one of those people and I had to unfriend him. I had to tell him to his face in my house, you can't come back here anymore. You can't be my friend. I can't be your friend. We're on two different trajectories and you're staying here and I'm going somewhere else. Yeah. And unfortunately, I can't be around you anymore. And he was gone for about a year, maybe 8 months, 9 months. And then he called me one day and he said, dude, I'm so sorry. Apologize for the shit he had been doing. Yeah. And, said, hey, I just want to get back to where I want to be. He has a couple kids that he doesn't, at the time, didn't have any interaction with that lived in other states. And I just felt like, dude, like, so I had a heart to heart with him. And I said, look, if anything comes out of our relationship, let me just give you some advice. Don't waste another day not seeing your kids. Like, bro, you don't have time, like, not to do that. So if you're making money, and it gets me emotional, right? Like, because I remember the moment. Yeah. But if anything, make the money so that you can go be their dad. Because one day they're gonna regret, or what's the word I'm looking for? Resent you for not making the decision to be who you can be. And that's going to start a cycle with them. Hopefully not a bad one, but most likely a bad one. Yeah. Statistically, that your kids are never, they're going to resent you. And then you're going to die resenting yourself, you know? And this is how close you are to actually changing your life. He went on the bike ride with me. He drove me the first week, whatever, Jason. Yeah. So Jason Schindler, that's his name.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
I'll just use his name, you know. So he drove me. When he left and came back, he decided, and this is what he told me, he decided, you know what, I'm going to just do this. I'm going to go put my effort into this career, into this job, and do it. Like, just do it. and I have another thing that I firmly believe is that imperfect action is better than perfect inaction. Because a lot of us, you know, we want to be perfect before we make the jump. We want it to be perfect before we make the decision. And unfortunately, perfection is not achievable.
Yeah.
And so if you're looking for perfection, you're going to chase something that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
And so he came back, and in 1 month, he made $50K.
Wow.
1 month.
Selling solar?
Selling solar.
Yeah.
You know, and it could, I mean, you could probably put that in any industry, alarms, past like any sales job, I believe, because that's, you can control the money.
Yeah.
But he made $50K and bought a car, got an apartment. He started having text messages with those kids, with his kids' moms. Now he talks to one of them. The other one's really young, and the mom's, they're getting there.
Yeah. Yeah.
He does send her stuff and his kid stuff, but one decision, like it was literally, you know, and he went out and did the work. And I said, the reason you didn't have good relationships with the moms is they still see you as the old Jason.
Mm.
You're the Jason that didn't show up for them. You're the Jason that didn't show up for the mom, right? Or the kid. And you're going to have to repair that relationship slowly. So that you don't start it for a week and then quit it.
Yeah.
You know, you got to do slow drips to fill the buckets. And now he talks to his 14-year-old daughter, who he didn't see since she was like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Text messaged her, has her number, like sends her stuff for school. Like, so there's it's one decision. He went and knocked doors.
Yeah.
Made money, start changing your life. Like, so yeah, die with memories, not with dreams. Say yes.
Yeah.
So I love that, dude. Like,
yeah. It's an interesting mix too, right? Because that doesn't apply through everything through your life, everyone, right? So when you're investing in things, you
don't say yes to everything.
You say no all the time, right?
Yeah.
You say no all the time until it's the right thing for you, right? But like, but yes, but I also like the fact too is say yes to like trips and experiences and all that stuff, almost implicitly, just all the time, right? And along the way, build a community around you that you can trust and take stuff to. Right. You know, like if you're going to get into a business deal, right? Like have a couple guys you can talk to that are in that world, that are friends. I can say like, yeah, man, I like this, or I don't like this. And you can trust what they say and then just take what you think is right.
Yeah.
You know, that's one of the things too, I try and tell people it's not if someone's honest or not, right? It's like at what level of honesty can you expect out of them?
Yeah.
Right. Because most people I think actually try and be honest, but they're also ignorant in certain things. Yeah. Right. Like, cryptocurrency is a perfect example of this, right?
Because I shit about crypto.
Oh, most people don't.
I lost $100K and I was out. Like $97,000. I was like,
oh, really?
Oh yeah, dude.
We'll talk about that.
That's a whole other story. I was like, I'm not touching this thing.
But people come to me and they'd be like, Mark, should I do this? And I'm like, well, the answer is yes, but what do you mean? You know, like, should you do what? You want to mine it? You want to trade it? You want to buy it? You want to hold it? You want to create your own? You know, people are like, well, I have no idea. I'm like, okay, good. I'm glad you can admit to that. So the answer is hell no.
Yes.
Until you know these answers, right? Because when I talk to people about cryptocurrency, number one, if I say, let's just pick one, like Solana, right? Or Solana. Solana, is it a currency? And people are like, yeah. I'm like, no, it's a token. Right? They're all tokens. And they're like, do you know what a token is? And they go, no, go learn what a token is. Right? Then they come back, okay, a token is a form of payment, but you know, blah, blah, blah. It's just like a video game. It's literally just like a video game, just getting tokens, right? Now you can trade those in for, you know, they trade against Bitcoin, right? Yeah. Bitcoin's technically a currency, but it's also a token, right? So it's like this complicated
really
thing.
Get messed up.
Yeah, and then it's like, what's the utility of the token? That is how you can actually determine if you should buy it or not. But they say utility, they don't know what that means, right? It's like, what purpose does it serve along the blockchain? Also, do you know what the blockchain does and how it functions? If the answer is that's no, then no, right? But once you know how the blockchain works, you understand the utility of the token. And yeah, if you think that token is going to go up in value based on its utility, then sure, invest in it. Yeah. It's very similar to investing in a company. Yeah. But you got to like really understand how it works. So yeah, buy some coins, buy some tokens, and then go transact with them.
Yeah.
Buy something, buy an NFT, a cheap one. Don't be an idiot, right? But like, learn how the thing works, because people get wildly excited about investing in like the new hot thing, and they just think they should just go buy it and do it and blah, 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 blah. For example, literally yesterday, right, I bought 10 nodes. Do you know what a node is?
NODE?
Yeah. Okay, so I bought 10 nodes to mine a coin that my friends have created, but it's an agricultural coin, okay? This will not pay me anything, right? They are worthless, okay, for probably 3 to 5 more years. The only time that token that I'm going to start mining through these nodes is actually going to become valuable is when people start buying and selling agriculture using this particular token. Yeah. Right. But when it does, what's I should say? I believe in it, right? But if it does, right? Because I'm still technically in the if stage. If it does, it'll be worth millions, like multiple millions, probably $50 to $100 million is what I'll end up mining during that time. Yeah. But you know, it's I'm 50K into these nodes off the bat. I'll probably keep on buying nodes along the way. So I'll probably get into it maybe 200K, right? By the time I feel like I'm established enough in it, right? And then hopefully it hits, right? But it also might not. This might die a death, and who the hell knows, right? But if you don't know what you're investing in, you cannot do it, right? Yeah. So the answer to people, my point in this is like, no, the answer, if you don't understand what cryptocurrency is and how it works, the answer is no, you should not be investing in it. So go learn it and then come back. Right? Yep. But if I say you want to go to Mexico for 3 days, say yes. Make it work.
I don't even know where we're going in Mexico. I'm just going.
Yeah, let's go. Exactly.
I'm going, bro.
Oh, so here's a funny story that we'll have to wrap up. But Michelle one day she goes, like I just came home from work one day. She goes, "What'd you do today?" I go, "Dude, I did the funniest thing." She's like, "What?" I go, "So I get this text from this guy named Greg, right? And he says, 'Hey man, it's good to,' or 'Hey, do you want to go to lunch? I need to take you to lunch.'" And I'm like, and I normally don't accept lunch appointments, right? Because I'm busy. And I go, "Yeah, sure." And I could not figure out who he was. Right?
He just texted you?
He just texted me, right? So I set this whole lunch appointment up. It could be anybody. So I'm like, but you know, I'm in the raising money phase, right? Yeah. So I don't know if he's like a potential investor. I just don't know, right? Yeah. So, and I'm like talking to him in this text, trying to figure out who it is. I can't figure out who it is. So I accept the lunch. I show up, right? You guys got a bodyguard. Okay.
Wait, what?
Yeah. And I'm like, so I sit down with him. We go to Goodwood, right? Yeah. And I talked to him for 45 minutes, bro, before I realized who he was. Who was it? I met. He's a friend that I met at a party. We went up to this like cabin with all these investors, and like it's kind of like a exclusive kind of invite only kind of situation. Nick Allen's the one that actually invited me to go up to it, right? And so, but then I realized who he was, and he runs this really cool business, and he was looking for funding. And so I was like, oh, cool. You know, but like, I remember just thinking, I'm like, oh, that's who you are. Just because it's a guy that works for him that just make sure he's all right. So
that's wild.
Yeah. So he's actually been on my podcast and stuff, and he's got a very interesting life. But like Michelle's like, I cannot believe you took a meeting with a guy who you have no idea who he was.
So out of character.
So check this out. So this week when we were in LA, right? One night after we got done tattooing, we went over to STK, and I go, oh, hey babe, sorry, tonight another guy's coming that I got to meet with, and she's like, oh, okay, who is it? I go, I don't know. And she's like, what? Are you putting me in this situation? Yeah, and I'm like, no, I've never met him before. He hit me up and said he wanted to meet, and I said, well, I'll have to hit you up when I'm back from LA. And he goes, I live in LA. So I was like, oh, cool, let's just go to. About you to come to the tattoo shop with me, or go to dinner. Yeah. So he was uncomfortable coming to the tattoo shop, so we went to dinner. I just sat there and just poured into him. He's a 38-year-old guy, and he just wants to figure out business and a bunch of other things. And just, I don't know how he actually knew me. Probably through Watt and the Instagram or something like that. So, but yeah, I just
you poured into traction from that, from Watt.
Yeah. I mean, if I want, I guess it's given me a little bit of exposure, but honestly, the podcast probably does the most for me.
Really?
Because people. I have a reputation here in Utah in the investing world, right? And so when people hear I have a podcast, they'll go on there and they'll listen to a couple of them, right? And then when I end up meeting them for the first time face to face, they'll be like, yeah, I listened to your podcast with whoever. And I'll be like, oh, cool. Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's crazy. But it lets them get to know me without getting to know me. So then when I actually meet them, it's a very soft, quick introduction, and they almost feel like they know me a little bit. Yeah. So it's kind of connects us. Yep. So, which is dope, right? Like, that's awesome. Whatever. For a while there, dude, I was like, once a week I'd have people come up to me like, dude, do you do that podcast? And I'm like, yeah, where'd you hear it from? You know, they're like, oh, my one friend reposted it and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah. So
Damn.
Who knows? But I'm almost at the point where I need to realize I need to figure out if I'm going to continue doing this or if I'm not.
Yeah. How many episodes have you done?
You're going to be about 191-ish, 190, 191. So,
You know, I had a pretty emotional morning this morning.
oh, did you?
Driving here, yeah.
Go on.
Yeah. So I was doing the math. Today, almost to the year, I was finishing that bike ride in Florida.
Oh, that makes sense. I saw actually.
It was Sunday, Father's Day.
Did you finish on Father's Day?
The day before, yeah.
Oh, the day before.
Tomorrow.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Dude, that's wild.
And I've turned down 15 podcasts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know I haven't even talked to you about it.
Today was the, I think everything happens for a reason, right? I think, you know, I turned down a bunch of them, mostly because I'm writing a book about it.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to have the book done before I did a podcast.
Yeah.
Jimmy told me to do that.
Yeah.
He's good at
he's
marketing.
smart.
Yeah, smart with that thing.
Yeah. I'll have to have you back on when we talk
We'll
about that ride.
By the way.
Yeah, but I had a memory pop up of me and Kelly, you know, in the RV,
Yeah.
you know, because like I didn't ride with you. I just kind of was in the RV, like, let's go.
Yeah.
So
it was literally a year to the day.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Where I pulled into Florida. And I was just thinking about it. I was like, man, today literally, I mean, there was good and bad feelings, obviously, with all that, but picking up my daughter from the airport and then having the fellas meet me tomorrow, it would have been tomorrow.
Yeah.
Where I would have rode in the last 50 miles.
That was cool, those guys. I really wanted to be at the end of that because that's the cool part, right? But this schedule wouldn't allow, so I hit you right in the middle.
Honestly, every part of that whole thing happened just how it was supposed to. Yeah. I don't know. That last day, there was so many interesting things happening, you know, from how I was feeling to how all those guys were feeling. I think a lot of people watching it or following it on social media felt like that last day was going to be this massive event, you know, or like huge deal. And to me, I was so exhausted. Bro, I was so exhausted mentally, physically that I just wanted to be done. Like I was just like, let's just get to the beach, bro. Like I don't care if it takes, you know, an hour.
And anyone listening here that doesn't know what we're talking about, Mel rode his bike from California to Florida.
Yeah.
Straight across the country.
Yep. 28 days. It was a little over 3,000 miles. I mean, there's a lot of crazy stories with that, but I'll share one that Tony Ferris shared with me. We're in Peru. I have a nonprofit in Peru, right, and do charity work. By the way, if anybody wants to go there, October 18th, I just shot some content last night. We'll post it.
Cool.
In the next, once the stuff's done, but October 18th through the 27th. So we do a week of charity at the orphanage, which, by the way, it will change your life. Yeah. Like absolutely, unequivocally change your perception and reality of your current state in America.
Yeah.
Because you're with kids that have gone, you know, through it, homeless, all that stuff. Peru has hundreds of thousands of street kids, like living on the streets. The orphanage takes care of about 1,200 of those, and it's an hour outside of Lima. So we do a week of charity where you're giving back to these families and these kids, and then 4 to 5 days of travel. So you immerse yourself in the culture with the kids, with these people who you're helping, and then you're spending 3 to 5 days going to Machu Picchu, Rainbow Mountain, Cusco. Like the culture of Peru, it's probably my favorite country in the world, and I've been to a ton of them, strictly because of the culture, the food, the people. It's life-changing. So orphanage, we do this trip twice a year. We do one in March. A lot of people bring kids in March. They're kids because it's during spring break.
Oh, cool.
So
I need to look at the March one.
March one's awesome.
The only problem that I have...
Well, I usually don't go to the March one.
You will next year.
If you go,
I'm not going if you don't go.
If you
go,
I'm in. The October one I always go to because it's just an easier
And maybe we can make the October one work. So my birthday is the 23rd. My daughter's is the 18th.
Well, I'll be with you on the 18th.
And then you'll be with me, for the concert,
Hope no one from the trip is watching, but I'll be there on the 19th. It starts on the 18th, so I'll fly out the 18th.
Is it close to the airport, the orphanage?
No, it's 45 minutes. Yeah.
Oh, that's close.
45,
like
45
4 hours or something.
No, it's not far. But Tony shared this story with me in Peru. Because we have a lot of friends, right, that watch that thing, and they like anytime they get and we're just sitting contemplating and talking, they typically will ask me questions about it, because it was kind of a on the whim thing, and it was 5 million times harder than I thought it was going to be. Crazy. Shout out Michael Conti. He's probably watching this. If it weren't for him, there's no way I would have made it. Not even, no.
On the bike, right?
On the bike. No shot. Like, that day 4, I couldn't walk. And I had 24 more days of that. Like, day 4. I was like, oh, like, this is tough, right? Like, but I was sitting there with Tony in Peru, and we were just sitting one night just talking, and he said, dude, you know what really impressed me on the trip? Because he showed up. There was a group of like eight guys or whatever that showed up on the last day and rode the last 50 miles. And he said, what impressed me the most really on that whole thing was we were all riding that last day, and everybody's trying to get to the beach. We're just like going, and it's almost like a macho thing for guys to like, especially when you're with a group of alpha dudes, like, I could do 50 miles better. You could do 50 miles, But I was so connected because I didn't listen to music or books. A lot of people don't know this, but I only listened to books and music. I read 1.5 books on Audible. And I listened to probably, in total, 2 to 3 days of music. And the reason I stopped was because I had become so connected with everything around me that if I turn on music or book, it distracted me. It distracted me from seeing, hearing, feeling, smells. Like, dude, I would sit there and just ride, talk to myself for, sounds crazy, but 24 to 25 days, I was just by myself. Talking and playing all these things out through my mind. And he said we were riding, we're about 20 miles in, and I was kind of in the middle of the pack with everybody, just cruising. I mean, I was taking my time. It was fun. And I was just happy they were there, and he said we were driving and we were about to go up this bridge, and we're on a big highway all cruising, and there was a car that was broke down on the side of the road with 2 people in it. And it's 90 degrees in Florida with like 90% humidity, right? It feels like 200. We're sweating crazy. And these 2 are sitting in a car, broke down. Everybody passed us, and I stopped to check on them. And Tony and a couple of guys they all passed me. Right? And this could be a life lesson, right? They're all trying to get to the destination, to the beach. And I stop and talk to these 2 guys and ask if they need help or, whatever. And I probably was talking to them for 5 to 10 minutes. Just like life, and that the group was all trying to just get there. And Tony said, you know what, dude, when I came back, because they came back to check on me, because I was sitting there talking to 2 dudes on a freeway, broke down with cars zooming by me. And they didn't need help. The tow thing was there, but they were clearly like, needed help in life, whatever that means, But he said all of us were so like gung-ho to get to the beach that really it's not the destination that we're all chasing. The destination, when you get there, there's nothing there. It's just another place. But the moments in between, what the process brings and that connection with people and things, that's what's important. Like, that's what makes the destination or the journey worth it. It's not the Rolex. It's not the car. It's not the finishing the big race. It's all the shit that happens in between that creates who you are. And he said that's really like, it changed my life, dude. Like, it made me think, what am I chasing?
Yeah.
Like, really, like, and after that, he took his family to Japan. Like,
they've been
wild,
all over.
right? He said, that's like one of the things that changed me, is I saw that and I was like, dude, what am I doing? Like, why am I just trying to get to the beach? Like, there's all these things that I just need to be present for. And
that's cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
It blew me away. I was just like, that?
Oh, okay.
I stopped and talked to 2 dudes for 10 minutes. He's like, yeah, like that just changed my life.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah.
Well, my friend, I normally ask for advice at the end of these, but that's perfect advice. Yeah, that's perfect advice. Plus, we're like
enjoy
way
the
out
journey.
of time. Yeah. Well, dude, Mel, thanks for coming on, dude. And we will, as soon as you're ready to do that podcast about the book, because that's actually wildly entertaining. I don't even know why.
Yeah, dude, I got crazy stories, bro.
Yeah.
I was gonna quit, and I met David Goggins and didn't quit.
Yeah.
That's
like the actual David Goggins?
The actual David Goggins, yeah.
Oh, shit, well. Don't get me started.
You want me to, I'll tell you the story off camera.
Tell me off camera. Anyhow, bro, thanks for coming.
Remember it, so. But
who cares if he remembers it? Yeah.
I don't care.
Anyways, dude, I love you too, man. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the President McCormack Podcast, brought to you by McCormack Foundation, Saxton Fund, ADP Lemco, and Professional Floor Systems. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and keep up with Mark on Instagram @President McCormack.